I saw that Hillary Clinton is featured in the upcoming issue of Women's Health magazine. While next month she'll be featured in Bad Timing magazine. Women's Health, famously. What a disaster.
All these people that work for Hillary Clinton taking the Fifth Amendment in front of the United States Congress because of, obviously, the crimes that were committed by Hillary Clinton and her staff and the way they handle the emails. I mean, it really is to me, it is a source of tremendous disappointment that the Department of the United States government that I served for 15 years of my life, the Justice Department, has perverted itself so much that it was unable to bring that case against her, when I know in my heart that that case would have been brought against anyone else. I mean, that is what you call corruption of government. Also, the way in which Hillary Clinton used the Clinton Foundation and the State Department. We're not talking about $10. We're not talking about we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars coming from dictators, coming from oppressors of women, coming from criminals, coming from money launderers, and coming from people who were making millions and millions of dollars in return for doing this, like the people who made millions of dollars because she approved the sale of uranium to Russia. You use uranium to make nuclear weapons. I mean, it's impossible to even fathom why you would do that unless you took a good look and you figured out that the Clinton Foundation got $30, $40 million from the people who made hundreds of millions from the deal. You have to be stupid not to realize it was a bribe.
Displayed the same sense of arrogance and entitlement that led her to violate federal law as Secretary of State, hide and delete her emails. I mean, think 33,000 emails, and that's just one batch. It's a lot of wedding talk. It's a lot of wedding talk. Put classified information in the reach of our enemies, lie to Congress, and sell government favors and access through the Clinton Foundation. It's this attitude of arrogance that explains why Hillary Clinton made 13 phones disappear, including with a hammer, so the FBI couldn't see them, and why she bleached her emails after a congressional subpoena. That's after the subpoena.
The lesson for all of us: there is no privacy in this world. Hackers can get into your system. You can be tape recorded at any time by anybody. You can be photographed without your knowledge, and people can even listen to your private conversations while you're in your home using technology. What an awful situation.
Teddy Roosevelt once said, "Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people." John Bound.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
You come out days later promising that you'll keep her on as Attorney General if you become president. You're right. We're fed up with your kind of government where the destruction of subpoenaed evidence with hammers and bleach bit and delete buttons are tolerated, where you simply ignore subpoenas and you destroy federal documents, where the head of the FBI, when called upon to explain before Congress why you're not being charged with a myriad of federal felonies, is so outclassed and so outlawyered that a 5-year-old could write an indictment based upon federal crimes. Hillary, you are a liar, and a pathological one at that. You're a cheat. You're dishonest. You are condescending. You are arrogant, contemptuous. And if you think that your half-assed apology will wipe the slate clean, you are wrong.
Pneumonia is a serious enough diagnosis that she should have told us. This goes to your point on transparency. I think clearly she had the obligation to reveal to us that when she had that hacking cough episode, that it wasn't
an allergy,
and it wasn't Donald Trump.
There wasn't a version of Trump. But Sunday afternoon, when our intrepid colleague Rick Leventhal was on top of all of this, the campaign was telling him and others she was exhausted and it was too hot. Now, it wasn't that hot Sunday afternoon. She may have been exhausted. Were they lying, or did they not know that she had pneumonia? It's 3 days after the diagnosis.
Right. I think they were spinning clearly. I don't know whether the specific spokesperson who uttered those words, which were false, knew them to be false.
Right.
I think that that's a paper trail perhaps worth pursuing. But they think that clearly they knew that this was serious, that she had to really soldier up to get to that event. She refused to listen to the advice to stay home because she didn't want to give a campaign issue to Trump, and she ended up giving him one in spades.
Okay, so is this a campaign issue yet again? Her either lack of transparency or deception. Does this add to the email scandal because now we have deception, at least in Trump's argument, about her health?
I think that clearly, particularly because we have two candidates who are up in years. I mean, they're both younger than I am, but they are up in years.
You got to say
that they should have transparency in terms of a complete, comprehensive medical evaluation shared with the public. But I think medical records should be shared with the public, just as income tax records should be shared with the public.
Do you think we'll ever see his income taxes? He probably pays none, which in his business, a lot of big developers end up paying none because you're a lawyer. They can take losses from places where most people don't even have places.
Totally legally.
Yes.
I agree. But I also think that his reluctance to release is clearly evidence, in my view, that there's something that he preferred the public did not know.
Is he expanding his base by the sort of more moderate tone we've seen since Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway took over managing the campaign?
Yes, and if the election was held today, Trump would win.
If the election was held today, Trump would win.
I believe that.
Doesn't he have a more difficult route to 270, the number of electoral votes needed, than Hillary does?
I think that this latest health scare, Judge, and then the bundle of degenerates, or whatever she called them.
Deplorables.
Deplorable.
Cute, Greg. Hillary Clinton's camp has accused Donald Trump of pushing, quote, deranged conspiracy theories about his opponent's health. They may be forced to change that narrative, however, after the secretary's scary stumble yesterday. Clinton is recovering at home today after appearing to collapse while abruptly departing New York's 9/11 memorial ceremony. Her team initially said the Democratic nominee overheated, but they finally came clean that a doctor had given her a pneumonia diagnosis just 2 days before. Even Clinton ally David Axelrod thinks it was a mistake to keep that secret, tweeting.
It's diagnosed her campaign. And we'll look 2005, she faints before a speech. 2009, she falls and breaks her elbow. 2011, falls boarding the airplane. 2012, falls, gets a concussion, can't testify at Benghazi, has to be delayed. In 2013, she needs the special lenses on her glasses to testify because of dizziness. February of this year, falls walking up the stairs. Recently, the coughing fits, the campaign. She jokes about.
Can I add one other thing?
Yeah.
When she did her interview with the FBI and we got that information, she actually said that she couldn't remember several times. So you think you can add one more?
I'm getting to that. We're not even there yet. Recently, the coughing fits, and she jokes about it being an allergic reaction to Donald Trump, and the campaign jokes and says, now it doesn't even joke anymore. The campaign covers. They say, you know what, she has had seasonal allergies, maybe even recommended or suggesting she was taking antihistamine. Then Sunday, Dana's right. Insert in there 40 times she can't remember, and then Sunday, she blacks out. If you look at that video, and I've seen it probably 100 times, that right foot is dragged along into the van any way you slice it. There's no way.
Why would you slice it?
There's no way she is conscious being brought into that van. And remember, her legs are staggering. Here's the problem. 90 minutes it took the campaign to say it was overheating, and then 9 hours later, 9 hours later, they realized that the video was out there. They got caught, and they said, you know what? 4 days ago, we knew about her being diagnosed with pneumonia. Now, come on, guys. They always revert to the lies. That's the natural reaction of the Clintons and the Clinton campaign. I will tell you, she can't laugh it off anymore. I certainly hope the secretary is okay, but her campaign is in free fall right now. She is done. She is not fit to run the country.
Hostile foreign actors gained access to the personal email accounts of individuals with whom Clinton was in regular contact, and in doing so obtained emails sent to or received by Clinton on her personal account. Hillary Clinton's staff deleted and digitally bleached, which is acid cleaned, her emails after receiving a congressional subpoena. She couldn't even remember whether she was trained or handling classified information. Didn't remember anything about it. So if she really didn't remember, that's a problem. And if she did remember, that's a problem.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
Secretary Clinton said her lawyers read every one of the emails and were overly inclusive. Did her lawyers read the email content individually?
No.
Here was reaction. Fox News contributors Ebony Williams and the host of Justice Judge Jeanine Pirro. Okay, well, first of all, she didn't wipe it clean with a cloth. She used bleach bit. If that doesn't prove criminal intent, I don't know. By the way, it wasn't one device. We now find out it's 13 to 14 devices.
Yes.
Okay. And they smashed them with a hammer. How did James Comey not come up with an indictment here?
You know, as you know, Jim is a friend of mine, or was when I was the DA. I have never been more disgusted with someone who was a former prosecutor and the way he has covered this up and gone to such great lengths to protect the woman.
But he did say there's more to come. And I think we have to pay attention to that. That's very important.
Chaffetz says that after reviewing documents released on Friday by FBI Director James Comey, he believes there may be evidence of, quote, obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence by Secretary Clinton and her employees and contractors.
House Republicans say despite the emails being under subpoena, a new round of deleting begins, including the use of a computer shredding program. In a letter to the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Chaffetz writes, quoting, the department should investigate and determine whether Secretary Clinton or her employees and contractors violated statutes that prohibit destruction of records and concealment or cover-up of evidence material to a congressional investigation.
Here's the very, very troubling news. We learned this on Friday. We learned this from the FBI. The FBI knew that servers were wiped clean, that BlackBerries were smashed and destroyed, and that a laptop was lost in the U.S. mail. The FBI ought to have pursued Mrs. Clinton and the people around her for obstruction of justice, and it did not do so. That is exceptionally distressing. The case against her for failure to secure state secrets is overwhelming. Now the case against somebody, we don't know who, for obstruction of justice is overwhelming, and Megan, the FBI has done nothing. Someone, somewhere, it must be the White House, has restrained the FBI from doing its job.
The question is, was this intentional, and what were they hiding, if anything?
How could it not have been intentional with the regular, consistent, systematic destruction of evidence? And I'm sorry to tell you, her lawyers may have been involved in this, which adds another entirely different level of culpability.
What if they say...
She swore under oath to a federal judge, and she swore under oath to 2 congressional committees. She returned all of her work-related emails. The FBI found 17,800 work-related emails that that she failed to return. Not all of them were readable because some of them had been destroyed. You tell me that's not a prima facie case of obstruction of justice, and the FBI has done nothing about it. And I don't know how far Congressman Chaffetz is going to go. Election day is 63 days from now. I don't even know that he could get to first base between now and Election day.
I appreciate you all being here. I got to tell you, though, I wish I didn't have to compel you all to be here. We asked you as legislative liaisons to come participate with us, in which you refused. But we're going to have a reality check here. She's the one that took the records from the State Department, gave access to people who don't have security clearances. The case is closed. There's no consequences, nobody being held accountable. But we also had an FBI director come and testify that he never looked at her testimony under oath. And somehow we have a classified system and we have a non-classified system, and somehow information was going from the classified system into a non-classified system. So it's ironic that you don't want to appear before this committee out of a concern for protecting classified information when Hillary Clinton walked around with a BlackBerry full of classified information and gave access to sensitive federal records to folks without security clearances at all. I want to understand from each of you what it is you think that Congress should not see. See, I believe passionately in the role of Congress. I believe passionately in the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. We were founded in 1814. Every expenditure, everything we do in this Congress, or everything we do in this nation is supposed to be overseen by us. We can investigate anything at any time. That's what's different about the United States of America. We're different because we are self-critical. We do go look under the hood. We do hold people accountable. That's why when Abraham Lincoln joined the United States Congress, he was on this committee. And he peppered the president because he didn't believe that the Mexican-American War started as the president said it was. And there's been a rich history of that throughout generations. We can't do that when each of the agencies that you all represent decide that, well, we're just going to show you the relevant information. We're not even going to answer your questions. You can't see those documents. That's the way a banana republic acts. It's not the way the United States of America acts. So we expect better, and we expect you to be responsive. And I don't expect to have to issue a subpoena to see unclassified information. Some of you, I had to threaten to send a subpoena just to get you to appear today. We did some math. We got 70 of you sitting here. Between your compensation and your benefits package, you make more than $1 million from taxpayers. Taxpayers are paying you more than $1 million. And you won't even come talk to Congress. What do you do all day if you don't talk to Congress? What is it that you believe we don't have the right to see? See, this is the way our government works. We get to do oversight. That's why since 1814, this committee has been doing that. There's executive privilege. Let me help you. There's executive privilege. Has the president invoked executive privilege in this case? No. The answer is no. Good. That's right. The answer is no. Is there any other situation?
Look, when it comes to classified information and the classification that deals in the executive order, not all the information that we have in our files belongs to us. We defer to other agencies when it comes to access to their classified information.
But you are the ones that put redactions on personal identifiable information, correct?
We did on the personal identifiable information, that's correct.
Where in the Constitution does it say that I can't see that?
It doesn't address it specifically in the Constitution.
Here's the problem. You handpicked the 302s to give to us, but the reality is you should give us all the 302s.
So let me say this. I think that the director made principled decisions about what to say to Congress when he was here and also what to provide to Congress. As far as the
Wait, where do I find that? Do we just let everybody in government decide that they're based on their own individual principles? That's what see, it's trust but verify is how it works. You don't get to decide what I get to see. I get to see it all. Will the FBI provide to Congress the full file with no redactions of personal identifiable information?
I cannot make that commitment sitting here today.
Then I'm going to issue a subpoena, and I'm going to do it right now. So let's go. I've signed this subpoena. We want all the 302s, and we would like the full file. You can accept service on behalf of the FBI?
Certainly.
You are hereby served.
You understand why Congress might want to know whether or not the attorney-client privilege was waived and who the client was?
I can certainly imagine.
Yeah, me too. That's why we want to see the file, Agent. I mean, you say it's unprecedented. Mr. Cummings used to be a criminal defense attorney. He got to see all your 302s. Ken Buck used to be an assistant United States attorney. He got to see all your 302s. Probation officers get to see all your 302s. Why can't Congress?
So I think we've given you the relevant ones as we've
relevant according to whom? I am telling you, I don't think you've given me all the relevant 302s.
Well, the remainder of the 302s will come out through the FOIA process.
But since when did Congress have to go through FOIA?
Normally this happens when the FBI serves a subpoena,
So that means
but now
it's
it's
not
been
gonna
served
happen.
on them.
That means it's not going to happen until after the election. 'Cause this is going to take a long time.
You know, there are judges sitting in an emergent capacity for applications like this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's resolved by the end of this week.
Whoa! You say the DOJ actually, I mean, the FBI actually violated policy in that interview. You believe they violated their own policy.
Yes. Her lawyers told the DOJ she will not show up for an interview if you record it. It is policy of the DOJ to record every interview. There is no record of what she said other than the summaries written by the FBI agents who were in the room and who listened to her. In this digital age, there is no recording.
Now, so how big an impact do you think things like this email scandal have had on her? Because it doesn't seem like, other than the email scandal and the Clinton Foundation, you know, Trump is going after her on that many issues, but those issues refuse to die. Every day we get something new on something else she's told us that's not true, something else she's done that is potentially problematic.
Well, that's right, and whatever he says about it is augmented by the revelations. So, you know, people, you know, they hear him talking about it, and they may or may not, you know, respond because of him. But when what he is saying is buttressed and reinforced by revelations of the kind that we've had just in recent days, you know, they keep finding more of these emails. She was supposed to have turned them all over. They keep finding out that there were more devices than she claimed that she had. All these things, while none of them by themselves is a death blow, is the death by 1,000 cuts.
That shows a willingness to expose national security secrets to a non-secure venue. That shows intent. And again, espionage, the failure to secure state secrets, is a crime that doesn't require the government to show intent. Isn't it fair to conclude, with all the different justifications and explanations she's given, with all the FBI found, that she was reckless in her concern for whether or not she was securing state secrets? And that's the standard for proving guilt. Recklessness. Supreme Court, what a difference in who he'd appoint versus who she'd appoint.
The country hates him and have those stories. So, I mean, I know people will label just based on his style, but I would just want to inject those facts.
I think that country has gone through a lot of changes, and they're really struggling right now, and they've been overridden by crime, and that's what created the opening for someone like this.
All right, Hillary Clinton is responding days after the FBI released documents summarizing its interview with her about her private email server. Here it is.
I went into the State Department understanding classification. I'd been on the Senate Armed Services Committee for years before I was Secretary of State. I take classification seriously. The fact I couldn't remember certain meetings, whether or not they had occurred, doesn't in any way affect the commitment that I had and still have to the treatment of classified material.
So let's talk about those documents. FBI documents released just before the holiday weekend revealing agents reported 39 times that she was unable to recall certain things. She also appeared to blame her aides for sending her classified emails. And she claimed not to know what the C or confidential marking on some of the messages meant. Okay, so I'm confused. She said none of the messages were marked, yet there was a marking on some of them, but she wasn't sure what the message was. How in the world did she take that form that she was given, read through it and sign it, put her name on it and say, I fully understand my responsibility to handle classified documents, and not get indicted?
The form of which you speak followed a 2.5-hour tutorial given to her on day one as Secretary of State by 2 FBI agents, in which they went through line by line the obligation of the Secretary of State to recognize state secrets, confidential, secret, or top secret. Those
Basic
are the 3
stuff.
marking when she sees them, whether they're stamped with that marking or not. At the end of that tutorial, she signs this very, very detailed pledge, promising and swearing that she understands her obligation is to recognize these secrets. That obligation was violated hundreds of times. The statement we just showed that she said on the plane is 180 degrees from what the FBI says she told her.
So the big overarching question is, and I said, how did she not get indicted? Is any of this a legal problem for her? Or is it just bad judgment?
This is a legal problem for her if Donald Trump becomes president and decides he wants to seek, his attorney general decides he wants to seek an indictment.
Or is it just bad judgment?
This is a legal problem for her if Donald Trump becomes president and decides he wants to seek, his attorney general decides he wants to seek an indictment.